Schwarzenegger. What a welcome.
This is fantastic, I tell you.
Do you ever get tired of applause, Arnold?
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you very much for doing this today, for interviewing me here on stage. And yesterday I was interviewed by a man, today by a woman, so this is fantastic. It's a whole other spin. And of course, I'm absolutely honored to be invited here to this very special hall. If you do that successfully, then you can be successful. And the same was also in the movie business. I remember there were times when I did a movie, like for instance, Conan the Barbarian. And thank you. And crush your enemies. See them driven before you and hear the lamentation of their women. It's one of the movie lines. Or get to the chopper. Anyway, so I was at Universal Studios, which is the studio that produced the movie Conan the Barbarian, and they said to me, do you mind if we send you to 3 countries to promote the movie? And then I said, well, I have studied enough to know that the world does not consist of just 3 countries. So I said, what happened to the other countries? Where am I going to go? He says, well, you're going to go to Germany, you're going to go to England, and you're going to go to France, to the Cannes film festivals. So I said, just to those 3 countries? And he said, yes, maybe if you want, you can go to Japan, this is also a big market. So I said to myself, well, that is ludicrous. Because what I learned about selling is that you have to go out and really beat the drum and talk about the product. And so I said, well, I want to go to 10 countries. I just made it up, right? And they just said, I want to go to 10 countries. And they said to me, 10 countries, actors never like to promote their movies. This is very unusual. And I said, well, don't consider me an actor. I'm a businessman. And so they said, okay, if that's what you want to do. And so they mapped out a trip where I went to the Nordic countries, to Finland, and to Denmark, and to Germany, and to Japan, and to Italy, and to France, and to Spain, and England, and all of those places. And I had a wonderful time traveling around the world and promoting the movie. And the movie was, because of that, and because of the quality of the movie, it was a huge hit.
Satisfied with your body?
Well, no, I was never, it's kind of like this guy, Hillary, that climbed Mount Everest. He was the first man to climb Mount Everest. And so when he got to the top, with tremendous struggle. And when he came back down, the first thing that the press asked him was, so what did you think when you were up there? This must have been such a satisfying feeling. And he said, when I was up there, I looked around and I saw another peak. And I looked at that peak and I said to myself, I have to figure out how to climb that peak. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because that's exactly how I feel. As soon as I have accomplished something, I always felt kind of, okay, what's the next thing? And so bodybuilding was the same thing. I won Mr. Universe, but I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, to me that does not look satisfactory, what I see. I need more deltoids, I need more biceps, I need more definition, I need more calves, I need more thighs, I need this, I need that. I have to train much more. This is like all monkey business. This is nothing. I mean, I have to get in there and do much more. And so I trained another year to win another Mr. Universe title. And this is how it went on for years and years and years. And all of a sudden I decided that I want to be the greatest bodybuilder of all time.
Don't mention it.
No, I mean, I'm not going to mention it.
I'm just looking out for you, Schnitzel.
No, but I mean, I'm not going to talk about Fuba at all. But I mean, but the bottom line is that, there was a tremendous kind of competition. I'm a very competitive person, and I kind of pick people and then kind of turn them into my enemy. It's a stupid thing to do. I recognize that. But the same thing was also in show business. And so Stallone was always kind of ahead of me. And he came out with Rocky, and then I came out with Pumping Iron, with Stay Hungry. And he grossed more than my movie did. Then he did Rocky #2, and then I did Conan. And then all of a sudden, people started talking about his body in Rocky #2, that he got more muscular. And I said, what? You call this muscular? I said, well, what the hell? And so then he came out with Rambo, and he was even more ripped. And so now we started competing. I said, that was it for me. So I said to myself, okay. So I did then Commando, and let me tell you something. I was training now as if I was training for a competition, even though I was out of competition at this point. But I was training like I was in competition because I wanted to make sure that people see a real body, rather than just the Stallone body. And so I started so it became a competition of kind of like, who has less body fat? Who is more muscular on the screen? Who kills more people? Who makes more money at the box office? Who is using a bigger gun? So when he used the machine gun, then I got a machine gun that only is used on tanks or on helicopters. And I ran around, boom, 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 and killing people. And then it came a competition like, who kills more people on the screen? So I remember he killed like 50 people, so in Commando I had to kill 70 people. And then who killed them more viciously and more creatively. And so this is how the competition went on. It was insane. It got to the point where it was so competitive that when we started thinking about how can we derail each other. And then I remember there was a comedy, and I wanted to get into comedy, and so did Sly. And I felt, of course, that I had really the comedic talent, and he doesn't. So we were offered the script, and Mama Don't Shoot, I think it was called, if I'm correct. And the next thing I know is the studio calls me and he says, do you want to do the movie? I said, well, I read the script. It's a shitty script. And then they said, well, if you don't want to do it, then we give it to Sly because he wants to do it. So my agent found out. Sure enough, he was snooping around on the project, and he was interested in it. So I said, well, call them, and they said that I'm really interested in it. That now I think there's a way of changing it, that the writing, that it is acceptable, and I'm interested in it. And so that made him really interested in it, because there was competition. So we were now fighting over who gets the project, but I didn't want it. But it was so bad, the movie, that I said to myself, if I keep saying I want to do it, then he definitely will sign on to do it. And then he would do this shitty movie. And so this is exactly what happened. They called me back and I said, well, I want to have more money. They said, well, forget it, then we're going to give it to Sly. And I said, thank God.
To get to do it. So please give it up again for Arnold Schwarzenegger. You are beloved. We have received 557 questions.
We have all the time in the world.
So I want to start with one from Anonymous. I'm 15 and I love to work out. I have been for years and I'm thinking of doing a competition. Can you teach me how to do a right side bicep pose?
No matter what the pose is, just remember that you have to concentrate on flexing every single muscle. Even though it's a bicep pose, but you got to flex your calves, you have to suck in your stomach and do a vacuum, you have to flex your thighs, you have to flex the pectoral muscles, the deltoids, everything has to be flexed. That's the most important thing, because the judges look at everything when you're competing. And most of the time in a competition, they look for the things that you don't have rather than for the things that you do have. So I hope that helps you with your competition.
Good luck. From James, who was the best film director you worked with and what did he or she teach you?
I think that it's always very hard to come up with one person, because I have been very fortunate to be directed by some of the greatest film directors. And when I had a good director, then the movie was successful. When I had a shitty director, then the movie was not successful. And so I would say that Jim Cameron is one of my favorite directors, who I have done Terminator 1, Terminator 2, and True Lies with. And they all were very, very successful movies. And I also would say Ivan Reitman, who directed Twins and Kindergarten Cop and Junior. He was extraordinary, and he gave me the ability to do my first comedy, because in Hollywood no one was going to offer me a comedy movie other than the one I talked about, because people at that point made so much money with my movies, with the action movies, that they said, you're crazy that we're going to go and now take a risk all of a sudden and have you do a comedy. So they said, we want to continue doing action movies because that's where we make the money. And only when I met Ivan Reitman at a dinner, he came up to me and he said, I know you want to get into comedies. I think I could develop something for you, because I've seen, during the dinner conversation, I've seen things from you that I've never seen in a